Basil or basil?
Well, this is not the plant. This is a basal metabolic rate.
Or is it basal metabolic
It's not. It's basal metabolic
You're putting a
rate.
different emphasis on a different syllable?
Hey, no, hey, you stop that right now. So if you're one of those people that love to have heavy music, smashing out loud in your ears, get pumped up, to get a big lift, that's cool. Use earphones, crank up the stereo, whatever gets you going.
Yeah.
Is it always going to work? No.
So you want to find a good balance between how well your body can move and how strong you are.
Yeah.
So it's really just to improve either performance or reduce the risk of injury. If someone started doing that, they're like, I've just got to get another 6 burpees, and they were splashing around their piss, I'd be like, out of here. Go clean up, please.
Yeah.
Are we going to beep that out?
Yeah, no, say,
How dare you?
How dare you? Does it mean birth or bursts?
it's meant to be burst.
It says births. I was like,
Well,
what is an adrenaline birth?
I was
Is
writing
that just a
quickly.
really intense pregnancy?
Yeah, it's an adrenaline burst. It's coming! Baby. All right, no. Old Mr. Thunderguns right here. He's been out the last few. It
Yeah. Remember when we were hiding him in the videos?
was great.
We stopped doing that.
Yeah,
We should really get him back in there.
I'm down. But until then, welcome back, everybody, to the Big Flex.
Welcome back. It has been a hot minute since we've done one of these podcasts.
We say that every time
Yeah.
because there's usually a little bit of a break in between.
Not every time. The last few times,
Yeah.
we've just been really busy because we're so unbelievably popular.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's
there's that.
It's a thing.
Yeah,
it's
it
a
is, it
gift.
is.
It's a gift and a curse.
It's been busy, so we
Yeah.
haven't been doing too many of them, but
Yeah.
we decided that one of the podcasts we'd get back into was the questions and answers podcast, which people seem to really enjoy. So, that'll be fun. And today's one's a good one. We got some really good questions.
There's definitely some interesting questions up there.
Wait, one sec.
What are you doing?
I can only hear you in my
Oh, hang on. No, I can just change it from here. You can hear me.
right ear.
Just make sure these are both plugged in all the way. How's that? You can
Oh,
hear
yeah,
me both?
there we go. There we
Yeah,
go.
they just was not plugged in.
Cool. All right, I got you.
All right, perfect. So yeah, let's. There's actually quite a few questions. So if it goes for too long, we might break it into part A, part B.
Well,
but we're gonna do the whole thing now.
First of all,
yeah.
before we get stuck into it,
Oh my
for people who
God.
don't know how these work, there's a questions and answers podcast. So people in the gym have asked us questions. So our members
Also,
they
questions
write
that
their
have been
questions.
left on YouTube.
We do always ask at the end of them for you to leave your
That's
questions.
it. Deb left 3 questions on
Exactly.
the YouTubes.
So
for me
they're
to read.
mostly our members or anyone who would like to ask questions after these podcasts. And then we take out the silly ones because there's often silly ones. And
Yeah.
then we try and get through as many as we can.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's mainly people from our gym asking questions. Some of it's very specific to our stuff. Some of it's just general. So if you have any good questions that you want answered by some very intelligent people.
Ooh. And here's the deal, guys. If we don't know the answers and we can find it, we'll look up some scientific peer-reviewed journal articles for you.
Yeah.
We're not doing research. Those beautiful people have done the research for us, and we just go and find it for you to break down. But a lot of the ones we sort of know already, which is super handy. And some of the ones like Guy's one, you don't need to be a genius to know the answer to that. And we'll circle back around to that. But also, before we start, if you haven't done so already, like and subscribe. We are up over 500 now, well over 500, which is great. On the way to 1,000 is the goal here. And I must say, all right, shout out to all the ladies that have been watching our shorts, because so the shorts are those little 15 seconds to 1 minute clips I've been putting up.
Yep.
Because normally our demographics are like 97.3% male.
All dudes.
All dudes. A big sausage fest up in here. So shout out to all the ladies that have been watching our content, watching our shorts. We appreciate you.
Well, to be fair, you've been doing a lot more lately.
I've been trying my best.
Post content every single day,
Dude.
daily, which is great.
The reel that I put up of Megan, and we're gonna watch it now, and then I'll put it up. We'll watch it live.
You watch it as we're
You'll watch it
watching
with
it,
us. But this
It's a great
reel
one.
right here, let's find it. Look at it. It's over 100,000 views now. 100,000.
Over 100,000.
100,000. So I'm turning the volume off. Yeah, but we can watch here.
For anyone who doesn't know Megan,
Yeah.
she just loves to do this
Perfectly
often in the gym.
perfectly embodied. This video really captures.
It captures her
It
personality.
captures her essence.
It catches Megan.
That's it.
In all of its glory.
Yeah, it's great. And so that's got 100,000 views now,
yeah.
guys. It's popped off, which is great. That one's on the TikTok, the Strength Institute TikTok page, the Strength Institute Instagram Reels, and also the Strength Institute Facebook Reels.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. You've been making a lot more.
I've been really trying. I've sort of set myself a side goal, because it's kind of like, oh yeah, I'll do a couple posts a week to keep things, in touch with everyone on the social media. But then you just don't do them because you get busy. And it's like, it's hard for me to make sure I'm always filming people for stories and this and that. So now basically whenever everyone does a big lift, I'm getting videos, I'm getting your videos, I'm getting their videos from training, I'm getting videos from competition, and I'm trying to stay ahead. My goal is to do one social media post per day for 365 days, a full year of posting, and just see what happens. And I've actually already had, and that's across multiple things. So it's basically the Strength Institute TikTok, the Strength Institute Instagram page, the Strength Institute Facebook page, and YouTube. So they're the 4 main platforms that these things get posted on, and there'll be one on at least one of them, but usually all of them per day. So it's good. And I've already got a big bump up in like subscribers on the Instagram, the Facebook. A couple on the TikTok is quite small still. It's helped the YouTube a little bit. But the views are going up.
Those really short ones, I think those ones people are more likely to watch.
Yeah.
You know, you get so many more people, especially the way that TikTok is now and Instagram and everything's reels, and you could just flick through and you don't even have to watch anything. I'm getting really bad with that now because I'm like, flick through stuff, and if it doesn't interest me within the first 0.5 seconds, I'm like, next. My attention span is getting painfully.
That's what we call that ADHD.
It's my man. Well, it's like everyone now is getting to experience that.
Right.
You know? It's just the way that. So TikTok did it first, and Instagram copied it. Now there's like reels on everything, and there's like 7 seconds, 15 seconds.
I think it's 15, 30, or 60 depending on the platform.
The good thing about that for you doing this is that more people are likely to watch much shorter versions of them. So they're just seeing.
You know what?
Content.
There's no rhyme or reason. It's like I put that same video of Megan up on TikTok, Instagram Reels, and Facebook Reels. It has like 80 views on TikTok. It has like 2,500 views on Instagram, and then 100,000 views on Facebook.
People say that there's algorithms, but I don't think that there really are.
I think they all just have slightly different algorithms. So it pops off in different
platforms. Definitely have different algorithms. They target different audiences. Like Facebook, I think, is for a much older demographic. So like they're
some might say the mature aged folk.
Some.
I'm all about that. Facebook life. Right?
Yeah, they target different demographics. Like TikTok is for children, basically. And if you're a grown adult and you enjoy TikTok, you're a child. But yeah, it targets entirely different demographics. TikTok as well is different. I think that it's not even initially targeted at people.
It's from China.
It will just be pushed to a certain amount of people anyway, and then the algorithms kick in.
There definitely is.
They all work very, very differently.
Yeah.
But the good part about that is this experiment for you, like we were talking about before, is that it's just fantastic.
Yeah, well, I mean, so far it's going well. Like so far it's going well. Subscriber count's increasing, views are going up. I know Fiona was like, you got to do your reels and your shorts. I'm like, yeah, whatever, Fiona. And then I'm like, damn it, she was right.
Yeah.
So if you're listening to this, Fiona, you were right.
Yeah, and I think that's it, right? It's just power of numbers. Yeah. You get 100,000 people flick through your reels, and no one really cares. But you'll get like maybe 1/5, 6th, 8th, 10th, 12th of those people will actually be like, "Oh, this is interesting," and then go to your page. But the fact that they're seeing it at all is
correct. Yeah.
So
it is good. Anyhow. Like, subscribe, jump onto all those platforms,
and
share
have a
with
look
your friends.
At the amazing content.
It's pretty fun, guys. Yeah. And there's a good variety. We have tutorials. We have podcasts. We have educational podcasts. We have fun podcasts. We have competition breakdowns. We have fun reels of just like, different lifts, heavy lifts, explosive things. It's good. It's good.
We've got some plans. I should say you've got some plans of some just fun ones that we're going to do that have nothing to do with the gym.
It's going to be amazing.
And they're just silly.
It's going to be amazing.
Keep your eyes peeled for those.
All right. Shall we start? Question and answer?
Is that the order that you want to move through as well? Or is it just going to be like, we'll see what happens?
Yeah, more or less. Yeah. More or less.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So I would say, we'll start with Sarah, who has asked, do multiple adrenaline bursts, can they affect your body weight? And I'm assuming the reason why Sarah asked this is because she's,
it says birth. Does it mean birth or bursts?
No, it's meant to be burst.
It says birth. I was like, what is an adrenaline birth?
I was writing
Is that just a really intense pregnancy?
Yeah, it's an adrenaline birth. It's coming! Baby. All right, no. So do multiple or lots of short adrenaline bursts, can they affect your body weight? And there wasn't really any research that I could find on that. And just from sort of, I guess, if I'm looking at things as scientifically as I can't imagine that it would. Sarah asked this because she works in a job that has some high risk. Am I allowed to say what she does? Yeah, maybe.
I think, yeah.
She's a police officer. And so she chases bad guys sometimes just to jump a fence. So the heart rate gets up and goes pounding. I cannot imagine that would negatively affect body weight. And I think that was the main question is can it negatively affect body weight? I mean, because there's been a little bit of...
I guess you could... I guess it depends on the level of stress that you experience. Like if you have a very high risk job where you're constantly stressed out all the time, you can get, like, if you've heard of adrenal fatigue, that sort of thing. But that would be under really extreme circumstances.
I think that would be high stress all the time, which I don't think, because that's then a chronic issue. I think what we're looking at here is more like bursts. So like if you have to chase someone once a day, and I don't even know if she's chasing people once a day, right? But like let's just say, for example, if it's once a day, like I don't think that's going to be enough, because you might chase someone once a day, but people that are lifting heavy weights and doing a 1RM or heavy ass weight sets, like they're also going to get a bit of adrenaline pump,
that's
you
a
know?
good point. So
I don't think the acute response would be negative effects for body weight at all.
Yeah,
I think that
it would
chronically
more be the stress.
I think
No, I don't think the adrenaline would be that much of an issue, because that's something that I think you're dead on there.
Yeah.
I think it's more the stress of the situation. So if you're constantly experiencing adrenaline bursts because you've got a very stressful, very engaging job, then you could develop a chronic fatigue stress.
Yeah, I would say be more of a chronic issue
from that.
And also, like, if you are really having to be switched on all day and you've had a couple little adrenaline bursts and you're stressed out, you're probably, when you get home, less likely to want to be active. You're probably more happy just to, like, curl up and relax. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's probably the effects that you're finding, you know, from the stress and everything of work is carrying into the personal life. But I don't think having a few bursts of adrenaline a day is actually going to negatively affect or positively affect your body composition and body weight.
Yeah.
So that's our answer to you, Sarah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I couldn't find any sort of like scientific literature on that, but I think there is plenty that would show that long-term and chronic stress and fatigue can affect body mass.
Yeah, because I would agree. The adrenaline bursts, it's there to aid performance, right? Something intense happens, and so you need that quick burst of energy.
But I don't think it's enough to like go into metabolic fatigue.
Like people do that in the gym 4 or 5 times a week, where they're trying to get pumped for a lift. It's the same sort of thing. You're trying to do that on purpose, and that is beneficial for you when you're training.
Correct.
So
yeah. And that sort of leads into Sarah's second question, which is what are the best, or what are some good fatigue management strategies?
Oh, so many resources here. First of all, I guess you could say, if you look at the Strength Institute, the
Strength Institute podcast,
the smart version.
It's just called the Strength Institute podcast.
The Strength Institute podcast.
The Big Flex podcast, and then we have the Strength Institute podcast,
the one on sleeping. There's some really good tips for improving your sleep quality.
I believe it's episode 6. I believe 6 might be 7 or 8. Maybe it's number 4. I don't know. It's in single digits. It's one of the single digit podcasts, and it's with PhD sleep scientist Dr. Ian Dunnican, and it goes into basically what is sleep, why it's important, why it's so important for recovery. So go and watch that one. I'll link it there. Look at the thing, top right. Point to Adrian up here.
Up.
Yeah, out of the camera. There.
Here?
Yeah, up there.
There. Okay. And I've said this before as well. I think out of all the podcasts you've done, I actually think that one was by far the most helpful as well.
It's actually a super. I'm going to get him back on because it was a super informative podcast.
Yeah.
But look, sleep strategy. Fatigue management strategies. Sleep is probably the most important.
Yeah.
Right. Nutrition also super important because if you're not fueling your body, your mind's going to get foggy. You're not going to Nutrition is so important for both recovering the mind and the body, right?
People say you are what you eat. That is actually surprisingly profound because it's super true. If you constantly eat sugary foods, processed stuff, fast foods all the time, you're putting that stuff into your body and feeding your body with it. You're feeding your body with garbage. It's like putting really low quality fuel in your car that's contaminated. Like it'll run, but it's not going to last very long.
And
versus putting premium quality in, which is supposed to be beneficial for the
Correct.
engine,
Cleans out the junk. Now, don't be confused with, hey, you could still eat nothing but junk food and lose weight if you're in a calorie deficit. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is that the quality of food does matter. And do this for yourself. If you eat Hungry Jacks all week, you're not going to feel good by the end of the week. But if you eat really good, fresh foods, whole foods, by the end of the week, you're usually feeling a bit more alert, a bit like you just feel better, right? Yeah. So nutrition, really important. If you're like trying to lose weight and you're in a big calorie deficit all the time, it's not going to help with your recovery or fatigue management. You're going to be tired and cranky all the time as well. So you have to try to balance out your nutrition with your sleep. They're the 2 most important things.
I'd say another one would be, I say this to people sometimes, and I'm guilty of this all the time as well, and people always come up short. What do you do?
What do I do?
Once a week or more. What do you do to look after Nevin?
What do I do to look after Nevin?
Yeah, like what's one thing that you do where you take time out of your day
to G-rated podcast. This is PG-13. This is for all ages.
To just focus on yourself.
To focus on myself?
A lot of people go, I don't know. I try to book in a massage once a week with Ash.
Yeah.
And that's just to help with like injuries and stuff like that. But it's once a week where I take an hour out of my week and it's just me and someone else like focusing on me, and I can just relax, and it's relaxing, right?
Yeah.
What do you do to look after yourself like that?
You know what? I need to look after myself more because I used to do jiu-jitsu and I used to go and strangle people, a couple of times a week, and it was great. I used to love it. It was the best events, right?
Makes you feel good about yourself.
Well, because then like you would teach them how to strangle people as well. So you would strangle them. They're like, "How did you do that?" And then you show them how to get strangled or how to strangle someone else in a responsible, safe environment at a jiu-jitsu club, Brazilian jiu-jitsu club, not just taking people down the park, strangling them, all right? At Brazilian. So I used to love doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu because it was fun. It was like a physical event for me that was different from the gym. And I love lifting weights, guys, but when you work here all day and you're doing gym, it's like, I just need to get away from the gym sometimes. But I would love to go to Jiu-Jitsu. I haven't been able to go recently, which is a bit of a bummer, but that's something that I'm looking to get back into.
Yeah, and that's why I like massage, because I push a lot, really heavy, hard all the time. Everything's intense. So to go and do that, I actually have a lot of trouble with just sitting quietly and being calm. So like that is a nice way to bring things back down. Just do something that's good for you like that. Like mindfulness. Exactly.
Mindfulness, guys. And there's plenty of mindfulness apps that you can download.
Yeah.
Yeah, little meditation apps, things to focus on breathing. Look into some mindfulness exercises. Look at your nutrition and look at your sleep for fatigue management.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah. Let's actually... Oh, Jake's is the next one anyway, because it kind of goes back into like those people that are maxing out in the gym. So Jake basically asked... Do earphones help if you're trying to like get a one rep max, like pumping up music in your head? Is there any any studies on it? It's like, no, there's no studies on it.
That's a kind of hard one to do studies on, because there's so many variables.
So basically this would be an anecdotal thing. I lift better when there's heavy music banging around, right? In the end, it's going to come down to the person, Jake. Mm-hmm. So if you're one of those people that loves to have heavy music, smashing out loud in your ears, get pumped up, to get a big lift, that's cool. Use earphones, crank up the stereo, whatever gets you going. Yeah. Is it always going to work? No. Some people like to not get overhyped. Some people like to be really super focused and just focus on the lift and not worry about all this extra noise, and they just zone out.
I'm like that. If I get too excited, I have to pump myself up. I get too excited, I get like jittery, and I make silly mistakes. I get like too stimulated, so I have to bring it down a peg. Yeah. Whereas one of my clients, Michelle, especially for her comps, she's got her headphones in right up till she goes onto the platform. Yep. Otherwise, she gets like a little too nervous, a little too stressed. It's like a ritual, I guess. And a lot of people are very ritualistic like that. Some people have to do the same thing for the setup for their lifts all the time. Yeah. And that's actually a pretty common one. People like just cranking music as loud as they can so they can't hear or think, and they can just focus on lifting heavy. Yeah. But yeah, it's everyone's completely different. Some people find that way too distracting, not being able to think. So
I personally think that if you need music to get G'd up, it's something that you could work on. Like I think that if you were able to teach yourself how to flip the switch when it's time to get ready for something that's important, that's actually a really good skill to have, because it crosses over to real life. It's not just, it's like, let's say there's a car accident and the car bursts into flames. There's a child in the back, and you have to get over there, smash the window, rip the child. You'd be like, wait 1 second.
Hold on. And then
not this song. Not the, wait. Hold on. Wait, just wait. I know it's on fire.
Burning to death.
Stop yelling.
I've just not found the right song. Yeah.
Just wait, right? I feel like it's actually a good skill to have in everyday life, not necessarily for that example.
It's funny that you say that though, because maybe like a year and a half, 2 years ago, I listened to this audiobook by David Goggins called Can't Hurt Me. And listen to the audiobook. It's better than reading the book, because he doesn't read the book. He gets someone else to read the book.
He doesn't narrate it?
No, but he speaks to that guy in between all the chapters, and he like explains them a little bit. It's pretty interesting. Anyway.
So do you hear his voice as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but he's not reading the book. Another guy reads the book. In between the chapters, they talk about it all, right? That's cool. So he's still on the audiobook. Really interesting book. Dude's savage.
What's it called again?
David Goggins, Can't Hurt Me.
Can't Hurt Me. He was an ex-Navy SEAL, does crazy like ultra marathons now. He used to have the world record for like most chin-ups in a day. It was like in the thousands.
The stuff that he does is unbelievably crazy. And the motivation I got from that book was like, if this guy can push himself that far, maybe I can do one more rep.
What was his whole thing? Was like embrace the suck, right?
Yeah, exactly. So really interesting book. But he does say stuff like that, where he talks about like, if you need another form of motivation, you're lacking something. Like you should be able to do that yourself. You should be able to dig deep.
You need to find the intrinsic motivation to get up for something that's important.
And so I tried to lean into that a little bit. Put some noise cancelling headphones on if you've got them, and try to, in complete silence, do a heavy lift. It's really hard. It's so hard because you have to actually focus on everything that you're doing. There's no external stimulus. It's difficult. It took a little bit of getting used to.
Yeah.
So for a couple of years, I tried to just like whatever song's on, like not change the song, not do anything like that, and just lift with whatever I got available at the time.
Right.
And it's difficult to do because like Britney Spears is on. You're like, oh man, if you can suffer through Britney Spears and still pump out some heavy squats, you're doing the right stuff. But it's hard to shift like that.
Unless you get red lights and then, oops, I did it again.
Oops, I did it again. Then it's relevant. Yeah. But yeah, that's anecdotal at best, Jake.
Yeah,
it's
up to the individual. Yeah. Up to the individual, man.
Yeah.
Megan asks, current Australian champion. I say two-time Australian champion in both the ASA, Australian Strongman Alliance, and now Australia's Strongest. So undisputed, unanimous Australia's Strongest woman for the under 82s, which is amazing. Her question is does wearing a tight weights belt regularly, can it change or affect like the internal structure of like her organs? Because she feels like it's so tight and it's so uncomfortable. Like, is it like messing my guts up? Like, is it squishing my intestines together? And like, is it going to affect, going to the bathroom or this and that or whatever?
Question, yeah.
And again, can't find any research on this, but I would say no. I'd say you're not wearing your weights belt anywhere near long enough. Like when they used to do like body modification back in the day when women would wear those crazy corsets and actually try to force it in, they're wearing them all day.
And they purposely did that. They wore them all day long and at a specific age as well. When the girls were younger and they were going through puberty, they would wear them while they were having their growth spurts, and it would be it's like when Chinese women used to wrap their feet,
bind their feet, but they're binding it 24 hours, like all day,
all the time. So you would have to be wearing a weight belt almost all day, every day for years and years and years for you to grow and change differently.
Yeah, I just feel like we're not wearing it anywhere near long enough. Like even in a session like today, we had 6 sets of squats where you wore a weight belt, and each set it was 6 reps. It's lasting, 30 seconds? Yeah. So you got 3 minutes of wearing a weights belt. I mean, on a day where you use a lot of belt, you might wear it for a combined amount of time of 5 or 6 minutes. Like, it's just not enough time to do any sort of structure.
Everything in your body is soft tissue and it recovers. It's not designed to, like, if I pressed into my skin and it didn't recover, well, that would suck, right? So if every time I put pressure on my body, even a little bit, it would like morph my body into a weird shape. So
it takes it's like everything. It's time and consistent pressure. Like I was having Invisalign, not in at the moment because I'm fixing my teeth for my wedding. They're gonna look beautiful. I had some crooked teeth, and basically it's like over 6 months of wearing the retainers. Basically 23 and a half hours. I take them out when I eat. I brush my teeth. I put them back in, and it took and there wasn't. Like my teeth weren't all like I wasn't snaggletooth, all right? Like I had a couple crooked teeth and I wanted to bring some forward. It took 6 months of like 23 hours a day, and then like the retainers changed and got like different shape every 2 weeks. It's like no, wearing a weight belt for 6 minutes a day is not gonna.
It takes a lot to remodel and change things in your body. Like the monks, I love the Shaolin monks.
Oh, the Shaolin monks.
They train for months and years to be able to punch things hard with their fists without them breaking. They start like by flicking a bag of beans.
Like rice? They hit rice bags?
Well, they start off with like beans and they just like do like strikes, and they do like thousands and thousands a day with like soft beans, and then they upgrade the beans to harder beans, and they upgrade and upgrade and upgrade and upgrade, and over time, eventually, years and years and years later, they can like punch concrete without breaking their hands and stuff. But it takes years to get to that point. Yeah. Like it's not that easy to make those changes in your body. Otherwise, everyone who wears a weight belt a lot would have weird, crazy shapes.
Yeah, exactly.
They'd look funny.
And I've seen a lot of thick boys out there with weights belts that definitely look like they've been wearing a corset their whole life. Right? Yeah.
So the answer is no.
Yeah, I would say probably not. A probability of 99.9% no.
Yeah, let's leave it open-ended.
Open-ended, but no. Deb has 3 questions for us.
These are good ones, actually.
Yeah, and I'm going to get the first one. We can both maybe get the second one, and I'll let... Actually, we're going to talk about them all because I got input that I want to input into all of them. Okay. Yeah. The first question is, and this was before I released the Bulgarian Split Squat tutorial video, but Deb asked, "What's the difference between a Bulgarian Split Squat and a back foot deficit lunge?" Because they're both. Bulgarian Split Squat. Yeah, I've been doing it with lots of people. They're great, actually.
Shout out to Guy, his favorite exercise.
Hey Guy,
Bulgarian Split Squats.
Because what's the difference? And at that time, we had a rear foot deficit lunge, but we didn't have a Bulgarian split squat. The difference, Deb, and if I do mention this in the Bulgarian split squat video, I'm going to link it right here. Up there. Is that a deficit lunge with the rear foot? Yeah, the back foot's elevated. It's usually elevated less, like 15 centimeters, right? It's not going to be 30 or 45 centimeters. It's like a small elevation. And we are lunging, which means both legs are putting in work, right? Both legs are putting in an equal amount of work. A Bulgarian split squat, usually you'll find, the back foot is higher, so usually around 30 centimeters. Now, some people that have poor mobility, they might be a little lower. If you're really tall with a long leg, you might be up at 45 centimeters, right? But let's say 30 centimeters is a good starting point for most people. The weight is shifted forward over the front leg, and the front leg does 90+% of the work. So when we go down, we're not lunging. We are basically loading that front leg for a squat. So really a deficit lunge is both legs are working equally, and because you're very upright, you get a lot of stretch through your back legs, hip flexor, and quad.
I would say like the focus of those deficit lunges is specifically to get some extra length in your hip flexors and quads.
But when you lean forward on a Bulgarian split squat and load the front leg, you don't feel any stretch in the back because it's just there for balance. So it's really emphasizing the front leg quad drive squat versus both legs and a quad hamstring hip flexor stretch. Cool.
Yeah.
Second question. Deb asked, is it normal to want to pee or to accidentally have a little bit of pee come out if you're doing like really heavy lifts?
Now this one, so you answer first,
okay?
Right? But I got something to say about this one.
Oh,
okay?
All right.
I got something to say. Probably an unpopular opinion.
Oh my goodness!
You go first.
So the answer is yes. It is not common in males. In females, it is far more common. Okay, and after you have a baby, it is even more common again. Okay. For whatever reason, the pelvic floor muscles just either aren't as strong or aren't able to contract as well with the women when they do the heavy lift, and you'll get a little bit of incontinence where a little bit of pee sometimes will come out. How common is it? Again, it's different for the person. You'll have people that lift incredibly heavy weights that never have an issue, and you have some people that have a small issue, might get a few little drips come out. You get some people that will have like a lot come out. So it really depends on the person. If it's something that you're worried about, you can sort of work on your pelvic floor engagement and bracing and strengthening exercises.
You can work on it a lot.
Kegel exercises help with that.
Even working on it a lot though, still you can have a very strong pelvic floor and still it happens.
Correct.
Sometimes.
And it does have a name. I want to say it's called like acute stress-induced incontinence or something around those lines, where like when you experience a really heavy push, it will happen. How do people deal with it? I know I've heard of powerlifters that will wear a pad just in case it happens. And one of the ladies that I've talked to that has worn a pad has said it's never had to use it, but it's just been there just in case because she was worried about it. But it's never been an issue. And sometimes if it's just a couple drips, people won't. It's not. You're not even going to see. It's not going to be an issue.
It's no big deal.
Yeah. Your thoughts?
Well. So okay, a little bit of pee. It happens. It's a part of life. You can't avoid it. We're all adults here, okay? It happens. Be cool about it.
Be cool.
Now, the issue that I have is there was
a video recently.
First of all, no, not recently.
That's a little bit.
CrossFit is crazy sometimes. CrossFit's fantastic. Okay, we've talked about this before. Breathe a lot of life back into the fitness industry. They sometimes do some crazy stuff. I watched this video of basically trying to like make it funny and okay to piss yourself while you exercise, okay? A little bit of pee is fine. Some people have those problems. They can't deal with it, right? You can deal with it a little bit like we just talked about. But the CrossFit Games, all right? They do some crazy stuff. Those women do some crazy stuff, right? I draw the line where you're doing burpees, literally splashing in piles.
I've never even seen this. Is this a thing?
Yes. In puddles of your piss, like splashing piss everywhere, okay? You're not a savage. Okay, if you're pissing that much while you're pushing your body to your limit like that, like put a towel down, something, right?
Yeah.
But they basically were saying like, oh, do you pee when you exercise? Yeah, I pee when I exercise. And they do the whole like audience interaction thing. And some people are like, I pee all the time. You're like, yeah, cool. Like you're a normal person. But then these women who are competing were like pushing their bodies to the absolute limits. And then they were just slapping around in piles of piss. And there's a limit.
I think
there's a limit. There's other people in the gym.
Yeah.
Okay. There's other people training. And I clean the floor here. If someone started doing that, they're like, I've just got to get another 6 burpees, and they were splashing around their piss. I'd be like, out of here. Go clean up, please.
Yeah.
Are we going to beep that out?
Yeah, no, say,
how dare you?
How dare you? I feel like that is like a little bit disrespectful when you get to that point.
Yeah.
Okay. There are other people in the gym. I understand it happens, but pushing your body to that level, that's like me squatting so much that I shit my pants. Okay. Like, yeah, sure, it happens. But don't push your body that hard if it can't handle it. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So that's maybe an unpopular opinion there.
I don't think it's unpopular.
That's just me.
I think the fact that you see like gushing amounts of pee would be pretty dang rare.
And I'm not talking like a little bit. I'm talking enough to splash in. Okay? That's like a lot.
There was I want to say she was a pro bodybuilder and maybe she's doing some powerlifting now. And she was deadlifting. It's a more recent video, and every deadlift it was like significant, like full streams power. And she's like, it just happens every time I deadlift. And then like, sure enough, this lady, it's like not when she benches or anything else, but like deadlifts, just for whatever reason, it goes, it's like maybe chuck a towel down or something. Like, I guess it depends on like if it's your gym or if you go to a gym, like you have to try to, I guess, if it's an issue, like if there's a significant amount, work with your gym to find a good solution. Whether it's like you do that exercise maybe outside of a towel or in some sort of pad or adult diaper.
If you can't stop it from happening, like you can't stop it from happening. But don't try and. This video did this where they tried to be like, oh, it just happens.
Right.
Like, but come on, like within reason, okay?
Yeah. Within reason, guys. Come on now.
Within reason. It's still like. It's never okay for me to urinate in public, right? Ever.
Especially near a school.
No, if I started squatting and I was like, I just can't help it, and I was peeing all over the floor, people would be pretty upset with me, okay? So there's a limit to the amount. That's all I have to say about it.
But if it happens and you're working hard and you can't help it, hey, you can't help it. Exactly. You know? That's it. It's a thing.
So this is find that limit.
Right.
Work with it. I would be upset if I had to mop up the gym every single time you came in to do deadlifts. After a while, I'd be like, again. So just be respectful to the gyms that you train at.
Right. Deb's third question, which is a really good question. She goes, is there a limit on mobility? And the reason why she asked that, she then prefaced it by saying, she prefaced this question by saying, an example is like she's doing pancakes, and after a while she just stopped improving on the pancakes. Because granted, I don't do them all the time, but like there's a point, like she improved a lot, and there's a point where it seems to not really be improving. Mm-hmm. I'll give a quick opinion first. You're my mobility dude. You can give your opinion afterwards. It should be more in depth. Is that I would say. There are sometimes limitations on mobility and flexibility due to the biomechanics of the person. So let's say when you're squatting into a full range of motion squat, sometimes people, the angle of their femur goes into their hip socket does not allow them to do an ass to grass squat. And that is a physical impingement that they cannot get past. It doesn't matter how much hamstring and hip flex and mobility they do, they cannot squat ass to grass. Okay? So yes, sometimes there are mechanical impingements that do not allow you to improve your mobility. What I would say is probably more likely the case in this scenario, Deb, and you even said it yourself, is that you don't do them super regularly. It's like lifting weights. If you lift weights once a week and you bench press once a week, your chest will get a little stronger. If you have great programming and it's periodized, you'll probably continue to get stronger for quite a while. But after a while, it's going to get harder to get stronger. Mm-hmm. So if you have those sticking points, you might need to do pancakes twice a week. Or 3 times a week. And I would dare say that you probably start to improve again if there's no mechanical, physical like impedance. That would be my thing.
I'd agree with you there. The mobility stuff that I used to do just a lot of mobility for the sake of mobility, just to like, I'm gonna see what I can do. Since I started working here, it's been more focused on improving performance, specifically to do with strength, right? Yep. So there's always an objective and there's an end goal. So it's not just like you don't want to be too flexible in your squat. If you squat and your butt literally touches the floor with a bar on your back, you're not going to get back up, right? You can do that, but just because you can do that, it doesn't mean you should do that. It's not productive for squatting heavy. So with things like pancakes, once you get to a certain limit, it's really just about maintenance, right? If we're using pancakes to keep a bit of length and strength in your lower back and in your hamstrings, then we get to a certain level. And then you do it once a week, maybe to just maintain that, to stay on top of it. But you can't keep improving forever. You can't. There's like everything, there's a limit to it.
Right.
And you don't need a ridiculous amount of range for a lot of exercises. Like I was talking about before, strength has a limit as well. You can't be unbelievably flexible through your spine and then unbelievably strong. You put a heavy bar on your back and you'll fold in half and die. So we need some tension and some strength.
Right.
So there's always a tipping point. So either, like you were talking about squats, for example.
Yep.
If you can't get to depth on your squat and you're getting red lights, then the mobility is to get you to depth on your squats. And once you can get past depth, then you just use those exercises to maintain that range of motion.
Correct.
If you have issues pressing overhead and you can't press heavy overhead without pain, then you do your shoulder mobility stuff to get that same thing. Then you just maintain that. So you want to find a good balance between how well your body can move and how strong you are.
Yeah.
So it's really just to improve either performance or reduce the risk of injury.
Right. So that's really good. In summary, I guess what you're saying is that once you get to a certain point, like maybe with a pancake, if you can get to 45 degrees, well, and that was enough to help you get out of the bottom of a squat, well, that's great. Just keep doing that. Yeah. And if we want to, for whatever reason, if you just want to be able to show off your pancake and get your chest to floor, you might need to start practicing 2 or 3 times a week.
Yeah. Yep. And that's exactly what I use my pancakes for as well. I have them once a week in my program at the moment, and they're just there to keep my lower back.
People might be asking, what's a pancake, guys? And what I'll direct you to is not the corner this time, because I only get 5 links per video, and I don't want to waste a link on a pancake.
Oh, really? Okay.
But what we will watch here, and what I'll put up in the middle of the screen, is one of Adrian's clients, Haley, doing this sweet-ass pancake. Click this. Watch this. All right. So we'll watch, and then we'll put it on the screen. Look at this pancake, guys. This right here is what we call a weighted pancake, where you have you can have a barbell or a plate on her back, boom, all the way to the ground, and then all the way back up. But Haley used to have back problems. She can crush it now. Okay?
So, the goal of this specifically, talking about the specific goals of your training, is she can get to the floor, her back stays mostly straight, and then it starts to round a little bit, and we're trying to get to the floor with her back being completely straight. If you have really tight hamstrings, tight lower back, and you try to deadlift, some people are too tight to pull their back into a nice straight position, and their lower back rounds.
And what happens then when it rounds?
It hurts.
It can hurt them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So doing stuff like pancakes, trying to work on keeping that tension in your back, means that when you go to pull into a deadlift, you can tighten everything up and keep a nice strong shape. So for things like squats and deadlifts where people have tightness through their hips, like really tight hips, it's a fantastic exercise to help loosen everything up enough, but it's weighted and keep everything strong enough to be able to pull yourself into some nice strong positions. It's all about specificity, and we've talked about this before as well, like an objective of training. It's all about specificity. You have to try and pick an exercise with a purpose. Everything has a reason. So sometimes mobility for the sake of mobility. If you just want to be bendy, cool, go for it.
Right.
But specifically to do with pancakes, there's always, and to do with, I would say your program, specifically Deb as well, is strength. Mobility is to assist the strength stuff. So there always has to be a limit to how far you push it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Next question. And thanks for those, Deb. They were 3 good questions. We like those questions. Next question is actually 2. We'll get, I forgot, there's 2 Ash C ones. We'll put the second one up top as well.
Which Ash one are we doing?
Ash C, the first one. Okay. Is there, and this links onto, is there a limit on mobility? Is there a limit on the amount of strength gains you can get?
No.
Right? No, there is. Come on. Hey. Is there a limit on strength gains?
There is.
For you, Ash, no, the sky's the limit. No, yes. And it's a very similar response. Is there a limit on strength gains? If you train once a week, you're going to start to get some strength gains. After a while, they'll slow down a little bit, right? So you go to 2 times a week, you get some good gains. 3 times a week, right? So it's one of those things. It's like, well, you can get strength gains if you work more often, if you have good intensity, if you periodize your programs where you work on heavier and more intense, and then you let your body recover and heal, or if you build volume. So I did 10 kilos for 8 reps, and then the next week for 10 reps for a couple of weeks, and then up to 12 reps. Then all of a sudden, let's drop it back to 8 reps. You've taken out, 30% of your volume, and you go up a weight, and then you do the same process, right? So there are ways that you can continually get stronger. Are there limits? Yeah, there are limits. There are genetic limits. So if you have a guy that is 6'8", like Hathor Bjorgensen, right, and weighs 200 kilos, the pure size of him and the pure real estate to build muscle is going to be more than a 60-kilo guy that is 5'4".
Exactly.
He just physically has more space to build muscle, thicker joints to build it's just a bigger blank canvas, basically. So yeah, there are limits. Also, strength has a lot to do with central nervous system. So like if you train really hard and build big muscles, but you're doing just volume all the time, and then you switch over to a strength-based program, you'll get stronger because you are then enhancing your central nervous system. So your muscle coordination, your muscles activating the correct kinetic chain and working together to lift heavy. So the answer is, for most people, you'll never probably fully reach your limit. But for some of those extreme athletes, there's some caps.
And there's a difference between regular people and extreme athletes. And I say this to my clients all the time. If you want to do more, as you do more, you have to do more. So if you want to compete against other people in your state, in your country, in a world-class level, you need to dedicate a lot of what you do to training. So it's not just about the training. Then it's about how much you're eating and how you're eating. And then it's about what you actively do for recovery. So you can push your body harder and recover better. And then it's about like mentally what you're putting into it. And then it's about how much time you're actually putting into your training. Some people have full-time jobs and can't afford the time to actually train as much as they would need to realize their full strength. Like there's as you get stronger and as you push harder, you need to put more and more and more time into your strength. So that cap and that limit is really based on how much you can afford to commit to it.
That's correct. And a great example of this, and I'll pull up the video, a great example of this is my dad, Ash, right? So my dad is 75. He's actually the strongest he has ever been in bench press. He can bench press 100 kilos. He's 75 years old. He weighs 82 kilos. The last 5 years that we've been training together, we train twice a week. Okay? We train twice a week. In the last few weeks before a comp, we up it to 3 times a week, right? But on 2 sessions a week, for the last 4 years, he has continued to get stronger and stronger in the bench press because we have a good program structure, and he works hard in those sessions, right? Is there a limit for him? I mean, he's well past his peak testosterone days. They would have died out in his 30s and 40s, right? But he's still improving. So if a 75-year-old guy that weighs the same as he did 4 years ago can bench press 20 kilos more now than he can 4 years ago, and he's by no means in his physical prime, there's no, like, you can still keep getting way stronger, all right? We're going to watch it right here as well. I'll put it up on the screen for everyone to see. It's my dad. So strong. This was him bench pressing 100 kilos at the GPC WA State Powerlifting Championships. And this was his third attempt. It was a 2.5 kilo PB. He did do it in the gym, but not competition.
This looked good too.
And now
So good.
he has actually been given the nod for a nomination for the 2022 Masters World Championship GPC Worlds.
Where he's going to be doing what now?
Slovakia. He's going to be going for the bench-only world record. If he can get 103 kilos, it will be a world record. So 102.5 is the current world record. You're allowed to beat world records by half a kilo. He'll be going for 103 this October in Slovakia. Is there a limit on strength? Probably. Is your everyday person going to find it? Probably not.
So the thing I was going to talk about with bench as well is that sometimes limitations on strength come to...
What were you going to say?
This always gets me. The word anthropometry or anthropometrics. Let's just pretend that I know that word. Anyways, how your body is made up. Like, for example, Nevin and myself, we have a similar bench. We're 7.5 kilos difference.
Hey.
All right?
Hey.
Just bear with me.
7.5 kilos difference is a world difference.
I'm not being mean, right? But 7.5 kilos apart. I have tiny little short T-Rex arms, and Nevin has much longer arms than
you can't see. Put them above you.
By like a hand length. Right?
So
that makes a big difference because our squat and deadlift is a world apart. He deadlifts and squats much more than me.
A deadlift, let's just say at States you did a 225?
For squats, I did 220 and 225 deadlift,
Yeah, and I pulled a 270 the week before States, right? So I got about 50 kilos on both lifts.
I was going to die after doing that.
But only 7.5 on the bench. Granted,
yeah,
I don't like bench, so I don't really train it much.
But still, we were training as much as each other on bench, and I would say that's a pretty big difference.
It's a big difference.
It's just because my arms are short.
But is there
I
a
have
limit?
to move the bar like this much?
Yeah. Is there a limit? No. If I train bench more and focus on it, but who cares?
But then if I train bench, so what I'm saying is you get like people who are really, really strong and good at powerlifting tend to be the shorter guys, right? There's always the exception to the rule, but like really short people tend to do well with strength-based sports. It's all based on lever system. So if I get the same exact person, they're a clone of the person 1 and person B, and I just do this to one person and make them a little bit shorter and make all their muscle belly shorter, limbs shorter, and they'll probably be a bit stronger than that other person. So that does take into account, like he was saying, genetics as well. That does take into account a limit and cap on strength too.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a fun one, that one.
Fun one, hey?
Yeah. I just like to tell people how our benches are very similar.
They're not that similar, though. They're not that similar.
All right. What are we doing next?
I guess we're going to move on to Ash's second question, which is down near the bottom, which is what's the most accurate way to assess your BMR? Hey, what's a BMR, Adrian?
BMR is a basal metabolic rate.
Basal metabolic rate, yeah. And
what
does that mean?
Whoa. Basal or basal?
Well, this is not the plant. This is a basal metabolic rate.
Or is it basal metabolic
It's not.
rate?
It's basal metabolic rate.
Are you putting a different emphasis on a different syllable?
Hey, no. Hey, you stop that right now. The basal metabolic rate, which is what, Adrian?
Your basal metabolic rate is just the amount of calories that you need in your body at rest, just to
survive. So if you were just to lie down in a bed all day, not doing anything, just breathing, just to be alive, how many calories?
A certain amount of calories
how many
to
calories?
just maintain function.
Just to maintain function and to not lose weight, just to be the same, be at rest. Yeah. Okay. What's the best way to measure that? Because there are calculators out there. Obviously, every food tracking app has a built-in little formula. You put your weight in, your age, and it'll say, hey, your basal metabolic rate is this much. Eat this many calories, and then add on whatever exercise you work,
and
right?
To be fair, those apps, they're not that inaccurate. They can be.
They're not that bad.
But they're based on the stuff that we learned.
They're based
from
on
the
a heap. They're based on a heap of averages. So for the average person, it's pretty accurate. Okay. Yeah. So you can, and if you just Google what's my basal metabolic rate, there will be a whole heap of websites that they all use one of, I think, two formulas, very common formulas for figuring out your basal metabolic rate.
Yeah.
Okay. But she goes, what is the best way to assess? And the best way is an indirect calorimetry. Calorimetry. Indirect calorimetry. Oh my God, tongue twisted.
Calorimetry?
No, it's just calorimetry. Calorimetry. And basically, indirect calorimetry. What that means is basically you hook yourself up to a metabolic cart, and it measures the amount of oxygen that your body consumes, and from that they can figure out the amount of energy that your body burns.
How does it do that, Nevin?
It has.
What do you do?
Formulas. What do you mean?
No, so for people who don't know what a metabolic cart is, literally, what do you do?
Oh no! For this one, it's not like finding out your VO2 max. This is literally you just basically
breathe into a thing, right?
It's like you breathe into this cart, and it measures how much oxygen and carbon dioxide and stuff you are exhaling, and it can figure out from what oxygen you are actually using per breath. It can figure out your energy expenditure. So that's the most accurate way.
Like very accurate.
Very, very accurately. But again, I'm not sure how much it costs. It's probably pretty expensive. It's probably hard to find metabolic carts that you can go and do that sort of thing in.
I remember going over this thing at uni where it's like the most accurate way that they can do that is you go into a heat room or something like that. You get into this room, and so that there's no room for error at all. They literally measure exactly how much change there is it's like a way for measuring heat, expulsion, as well as oxygen, like everything. So when you breathe into a cart, you're still burning energy through other sources, and this measures everything. It's a very, very
that might be. There's another one
expensive.
There's another one called direct calorimetry, which that might be what you're referring to. But the one that I'm more
hyper-specific.
The one that I'm more familiar with is indirect calorimetry, which is when you're basically using the metabolic cart.
This is used widely because it's actually like what do they call it?
A feasible option.
A feasible option. The other one is a giant room you have to build, and it's expensive and silly. Okay. So
so that's the most accurate way. And then if you don't find yourself a place where you can do that, and you want to have a crack, I would suggest doing a basic Google search or using your MyFitnessPal, whatever it is, to find out what they say.
Actually, a pretty good one. Yeah.
And then try to be as accurate as possible with your food reporting. Right? Because let's say you eat exactly 1,800 calories and you're reporting your cooking, the oils you use to cook, you're reporting the salad, you're reporting everything as best you can. Let's say you eat 1,800 calories a day. And let's say you do that every day for a week and your weight stays exactly the same for a week. Right? Then we know that you're in a neutral maintenance. Right? So if you deduct the 1,800 calories, then you're at your basal metabolic rate, minus your exercise, right? So let's say you don't exercise that week.
Yeah.
And that's not going to be as accurate because you have the thermic effect of food, you have your non-exercise
just moving
allowance.
And doing stuff. Yeah.
Right, yeah. So there's other things like that. So I would recommend either finding yourself a metabolic cart and doing a test, or to just use something like MyFitnessPal, which is probably pretty close.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That answers your questions there, Ash?
Yeah.
Alrighty, guys. That is 45 minutes in. This was an hour and a half long podcast, and we want to make sure that everyone's enjoying and listening to all the questions. So we're going to cut that one there. We're going to put it into two parts. Part 1, Part 2. This is the end of Part 1. We hope you enjoyed, and please tune back in next week, or whenever I next upload this next one, for Part 2, where we're going to get another 45 minutes of question and answers. Thanks very much.
As always, make sure you like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe.
All right. Like and subscribe. And with these questions and answer podcasts, we really, really like them. So ask some questions. Chuck them in the comments. Contact us, message us on Instagram, on our personal numbers, on just give us the questions. We like this podcast, guys.
It's fun.
And like and subscribe. That's another important one as well.
Like and subscribe.
We'll wait. doing it?
Do it.
Should be doing it right
Just
now.
do it.
We'll wait. You got time. Come back.
See ya.
Okay. Anyways, that's enough time for that.
See you guys.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you next time for part 2.